I've done some pretty fantastic things. I've written some hit songs with some very famous people, Michael Jackson, and I've written with Stevie Wonder, and I've worked with everybody in the industry.
Susaye Greene is a Motown legend, the last supreme, and a creative force who has worked with icons like Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson. But her true mission goes far beyond music. It's about courage, joy, and unshakable self-expression. You are the last member of the Supremes signed to Motown Records. Wow.
Being the last Supreme is such an honor, and it's an expectation. And that's the thing I think that has propelled me forward. I always thought that my music was my purpose.
What made you say enough was enough?
I can't say I was bored, because it's not boring. You're going and meeting people and traveling to fabulous places. But it never leaves us. It never really does. It just gets pressed down. It gets hidden. So many people write me from around the world and say, you have such confidence. Why? Why are you so confident? Well, it's simple.
Hello and welcome to Radical Magic TV. I am Shawna Smith and joining me today is Susaye Greene. Hello, Susaye. Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Shawna. It's lovely to see you today. And thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to chat with you. It's been a long time coming. And I want to, talk a little bit about your 3-time #1 international best-selling author. That's what you are. You're a media professional, a confidence in media coach, a 5-octave singer, a hit songwriter, producer, thought leader, creative entrepreneur, a tech co-founder, and you are the last member of the Supremes signed to Motown Records. Wow.
Yeah, I've had a long life, and it's been very exciting. What can I say? There have been lots of blessings.
I think that's why I'm a little nervous to talk to you today. You're kind of a big deal, so...
Yeah, how lovely. How lovely to say. But I always think of myself as I'm just a woman who was in the right place at the right time. A lot of times. What can I say?
Wow, that's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about your history, Susaye. I mean, you have this lengthy, beautiful history of amazing stories.
Yes, I do. I've been very blessed. My parents were in show business, and that was a great boon, I think, because my mother was able to train me, my vocals, and she recognized in me at a very young age that I had an ability that was unique. So with her, saying, okay, stand over there and sing for the people, starting in church and that sort of thing, and growing, she put me in professional children's school and performing arts, the School of Performing Arts, majoring in drama. It really prepared me for a life in show business. I've always known what I wanted to do. But oddly enough, even though I've done some pretty fantastic things. I've written some hit songs with some very famous people, Michael Jackson, and I've written with Stevie Wonder, and I've worked with everybody in the industry, and not finally, but with the Supremes, being the last Supreme is such an honor, and it's an expectation. And that's the thing I think that has propelled me forward. I always thought that my music was my purpose. But I realized from people reaching out to me from all over the world that my purpose is uplifting and inspiring people and helping people find their joy and their highest, most passionate draws in life, because that's what spurs us on. So I've been lucky,
Yeah. So I have to ask you, my sister is one of the biggest Michael Jackson fans on the planet. Did you get to work with him directly?
I got a chance. I get a bit wispy because Michael was such a unique talent, and I got to be around him many times. We were both on Motown, and the circles, the parties that you would go to, the industry parties that you would go to for award shows and things like that. I got the chance to be around him. Plus, my mother was a vocal coach, and she actually went to his home, his family's home, and got two of his sisters ready to record. She got Janet Jackson ready to record. So being around Michael was a kind of experience. My most memorable experience was when Stevie Wonder was recording songs in the key of life. And he had this song, I Can't Help It, which was intended for Songs in the Key of Life. But his sister Renee, there's just so many connective threads. And that's what's so wonderful about the whole experience. But his sister said, you should give that song to Michael. And so he did. They were actually related, Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson. They were distant cousins.
Hmm.
So he gave him that song, and Steve had a remote recording studio outside of his big studio. And it's where you would sit and listen to music. So I was sitting in there, and he's playing different songs from Songs in the Key of Life that were getting ready to come out. And Michael came in, and there was no one in there but the two of us. And I'm sitting there thinking, just like everybody else. It was phenomenal. He was a phenomenal person. And the music was so loud, we could hardly speak. We just nod, and the music was just jamming. What an experience. And I remember he said to me, he said, aren't you Susaye? Aren't you Miss Greene's daughter? That's how, so many people adored my mom because she was so influential in their lives. And there we are. He asked me, and I nodded and said yes. And we only had a few other words, but what a guy.
Hmm.
What can I say? What a guy. And I Can't Help It, the song, which was never a single, but it was on the Off the Wall album. And because of that, people from all over the world reached out to me
Hmm.
when he passed because of I Can't Help It. It was the most, I would say, the most sophisticated song that he had done as a young adult. And even now, people reach out to me every day, literally, still talking about I Can't Help It. It was one of the most covered songs in his entire discography, which is, what an honor.
Michael Jackson is the first record I ever owned. So he holds a very special place in many people's hearts around the globe. Yeah.
It's
How
true.
amazing.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Tell me about your time with the Supremes.
Oh, wow. Can I say, we all grew up with the Supremes. And I never imagined, even though I used to stand in front of the mirror with a microphone, which was really a hairbrush. And I'd be either Diane, or I'd be Mary, or I'd be Florence. And that was the magic of the Supremes, is that you could imagine being not just one person, but one of those three personalities. And when once again my mom, to show you how influential she has been in my career, she was on the executive board of the NAACP in Beverly Hills. And Bob Jones, who was in charge of Motown's publicity department, was a dear friend of hers. He called her and he said, Vivian, they are looking for another Supreme. They had recorded the last iteration of the group. They're fabulous ladies and fabulous singers, but Cindy Birdsong was leaving the group. So he said Susaye would be perfect for it, and I want to put her forward, and he did. So here I am in a limo riding up to Mary Wilson's house, and meeting her. And we had met actually on the road when I was singing with Ray Charles, when another group of Supremes opened the show for him in Washington, D.C. at the Carter Barron, which is an amphitheater. And of course, I was standing right off stage because the Supremes, and I wanted to see the glamour up close. So I met them, and Mary remembered me. So when I went to her house, it was a it was a shocking kind of an introduction, reintroduction to each other. You never consider that something that you see on the big screen is going to be part of your life. You just don't consider it. But I'm so honored because there are only 9 women in the world who've ever been a Supreme. And that expectation is a heavy thing. They say, the fans, the millions of fans around the world, say once the Supreme, always the Supreme, which is quite an honor on the one hand. On the other, it is their limiting view of you know. So that is part of my transformation and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing now. At a certain point, because I'm a writer, I'm a producer, I'm a singer that I know can continue to perform until, as long as I have a voice, as long as I can walk out on that stage. Or, we used to joke and say, at a certain point, we'll all be like in a walker with a walker going up. It'll have rhinestones on it. But hey, the people want that music. And that is a testament to the brilliance of Motown and of Berry Gordy, who founded Motown, to the producers and the writers and the the songs themselves. They're still fresh, and it allows people to take themselves to that space. And that's a very important thing. We all have a song that is part of our childhood or our teenagery that we listen to that song and it makes us think of that time that was magic for us. And that's the key to what I'm doing now. So
Mhm.
here
Yeah.
I am.
Yes, here you are. And I love that you're finding ways to keep yourself active and you're helping others. And you have a hater blockers handbook. Tell us about that.
Yes. Oh, it's my little joy book. I like to call it the tiny book that you didn't know you needed. But the Hater Blockers Handbook came about because being online, I realized pretty quickly because of the anonymity that people sit in. They say a lot of things, a lot of them they don't mean. But it's human nature, I suppose. There's a certain power tied to it, personal power. And they say things that bring people down just for the heck of it. There's a lot of hate. And they say, you're not really famous until the haters come out of the woodwork. So I got this idea that I'd write a little book that I call a lifeline that you can pick up that spurs you on and lifts you back up. Because so many people, even people who are greatly accomplished, feel a lot of times that they don't deserve their joy. And to revel in the accomplishments that they've worked so hard for. And the hater blockers are little reminders, things. Everybody has that family member who will say, oh, I hear you're doing this, are you doing that, really, that little askance look. And they're saying, here's the little bubble here saying, who does she think she is? Well, if you've done something, if you put your passion and your heart and soul into it, and you find yourself accomplished, then certainly you deserve to enjoy that. And the Hater Blockers Handbook, which people can find online at play.susaye.com, is a small book. It's a PDF file that you can download, or you can make it into your own little book or keep it on your phone. And it has very gentle reminders about how you can very nicely say things like, oh, you don't believe I can do that? Well, watch me. That's the essence of it. Watch me. because I think people can achieve anything that they put their heart and soul to, and they deserve that joy that comes with that. That passion is a burning fire that pushes us forward to do great, great things, particularly in these times. So I'm very proud of it. And I'm very proud for people to reach out and tell me, well, that helped me a lot. That helped me, know what to say to the silly people who have the nerve to not enjoy or allow me to. Because that's the key, isn't it? We all
Yeah,
have to help each other.
it really is. And you have a webinar.
It's called Voice Revolution. And Voice Revolution is really the art of unshakable self expression. Everybody's got a story, and everybody wants a chance to build on that story if they have that fire in them, if they're passionate about what they do. So, Voice Revolution is really to help people refine that voice and find it again if they've lost it. It helps them using my supreme method, that's what I call it, to lift up and move forward. And it's by using a song that's a special song to you. Everyone has one. I know I certainly do. There's songs I can think of specifically right now that I enjoyed, but not just enjoyed. It's a song because the sacredness of music people overlook very often. They know that something inspires them to get up and dance, or it makes them feel whole, it makes them feel strong and able. And those songs need to be an important part. They certainly are an important part of people's lives, but they don't really realize the emphasis behind it, how much that song, it's like, when you listen to rock and roll, let's say, the average person who loves rock and roll, they go to concerts and you can be free and can dance around and you get chills, you're lightened up, and that music that puts that in your heart and your soul and spirit is a very important part of your growth in a way. If you can harness that energy, it's all about energy, isn't it? We're here and we have a purpose and a destiny. I believe very strongly in destiny, to be in a right place at the right time. And these are very difficult times. We all know that. But as much negativity as there is in the world, there's a consciousness that balances against that, a consciousness of positivity and of hope and wonder and delight and joy. I use the word joy because if you think of little kids, little kids have joy. They're not encumbered by the hardships of life, of being an adult and having to work and having to, to strive to do things. They just are. And that joy comes out. It never leaves us. It never really does. It just gets pressed down. It gets hidden, and it gets drawn back, and people become afraid to connect to themselves. That's one of the main things that drew me to the entire radical company, was self-love, radical self-love. A part of that has got to be you rebuilding that energy of I can, and delightfully so I can. No, it's just a part of us. And I'm striving for that. So many people write me from around the world and say, you know, you have such confidence. Why? Why are you so confident? Well, it's simple. It's because I believed my mother when she told me that she loved me. I believed her when she said that there are no limits, that you can do anything that you put your heart into, that you put your spirit into, and you have to be passionate. I believed that about her because she was a little girl from Nacogdoches, Texas, one way in and one way out, you know? And yet she found tremendous, her talent was a tremendous boon to what she could do in the world. She was a pianist, brilliant pianist, and she was the youngest person to graduate from Prairie View College in Texas. She was 17 when she graduated from college, so she had to have a chaperone when she went to school. But she had no limits, none. She felt that you could be, you could enjoy, you could do anything that you were passionate enough to work hard for. And I remember her calling me from Paris one time. She was in Paris to teach the children from Gabon that were the royal family, basically, of Gabon in Africa. And they had a disco in their home. They had all of the luxury, and the son wanted to be like James Brown, if you can imagine that. He's 16 years old. And she called me and she said, "What do you be snake?" And I said, "What?" She said, "They're going to have snake meat." I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "Like I'm so busy cooking snakes, How do I know?" But she was such an unlikely person. She wasn't afraid to go into a place she'd never been. She wasn't afraid to speak to people she didn't know. And because of that courage, which is our latest book, Radical Courage, she had that courage. And she gave that to me. The courage to stand for what you truly believe in, the courage to love, unfettered by other people's perception, and to look in your own mirror,
Yeah.
to judge yourself not by other people's mirror, what they expect you to be.
I wish more people had a mother like you, that's for sure.
They
And I
do.
know that your method is supreme, which I love that you chose that. Walk us through the steps. What is the first step, Susaye?
Well, I think if I'm not precise about what the steps actually are, the intent is to remind me that each part of a unique method that you use is a way to grow. So you start at the beginning of what stories are, every person has a story, and you start there. My supreme method is about living a certain life, not a life that's expected of me, you see, but a life that I feel from my heart that I want to to give other people the opportunity to live from their perspective, you know? So I'll just say that the S for me is song, you know? Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
got that song.
Yeah.
And it's a way really for people to live their best lives, not my version of what life is. Oh, it's a service to people to allow them to not be afraid to move forward. Because regardless of what you accomplish in your life, you have the ability and the courage. If you can find that courage, then you have the ability to do anything and to transform and to grow. So that for me is so special. It's an opportunity for me to help people and get to actually see them grow, you know,
Yeah.
because they come to us. They come to us with hope, and that hope can grow into almost any situation that you can think of in the world. We each have different points of view, different perspectives about the way life should be. And ah, I feel blessed to get a chance to do this. I really do.
Yeah. What's the biggest lie that your target audience has been told about this industry that you've discovered, so you say, is completely false?
Oh, that you can't. It's simply that you can't do. That you don't stand a chance doing things that are out of your league, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that. It's funny. It's funny. I think that each of us comes to this earth with a purpose and an intent. And that purpose is anybody's guess. But the lie that you're told is that you have to fit into a box in order to be worthy, when we're all worthy. And the expectation of what we can find in ourselves is endless. It's absolutely endless.
What's the real cost, so you say, when people actually believe this lie?
Oh, the cost is living a life, I think, that is depressing to you. You know, people live for a whole lifetime and they'll work at a 9 to 5 that they hate. You know, you hear people all the time talk about, I hate this job. And I'm thinking, well, if you were willing to accept perhaps a bit less money and did what you were passionate about, your life would change entirely. And if you work hard enough, I believe the success will come. It's all a matter of your perspective. I really believe that. I read a wonderful article this morning about water. Of all things, water. We've been told that we are 70% water, and that's what makes us ruled by the tides, the moon, whatever it is. But the water that is inside of us is a different, it's not the H2O. It's called easy water, the water that's inside of us, which takes on a crystalline form and is energy. Electricity can come through it. And the energy to move our heart and our this miracle that we are. I don't think people realize what a miracle we all are. That day to day, when you wake up, the rhythm of your entire being is determined perhaps by something we don't know. But, oh my, we can't make a human being. We can have a human being, but we can't make a human being because the genius that goes into it. And yet, each of us has a genius spot. Each of us has a magic. And we all have a space in us that who knows what the possibilities are. That's what is so brilliant to me about living life. The connective thread that we have as human beings is so harmonious in a way. We go through the same lives. We might have different, the accoutrement, all the stuff, but the feelings. We love, we laugh, we cry, we experience, the people that want to have children, the people that want to get married, the people that don't. We all have this secret sauce that makes us special. That's what DNA is, isn't it? Each individual, it's important to be an individual. And I feel that it's such a special space in space and time for us to have the opportunity to know that being an individual means I can do this. I can do things that you can't do, perhaps, but you have things that you can do that I can't do. And that's what makes life exciting, that joining of spirits. I honestly believe destiny puts us together. It makes us come into a space. I just imagine, my dear friend Joe Davis, who is called the badass intuitive. If I hadn't met Joe, then I never would have met the entire Radical team and company and all of the beautiful people who come together to make this, this life that's fabulous, to see everybody grow in their talents and their mindset, and to see them gain business acumen, and to have the desire to go far beyond where they started. You know, who
Hmm.
knew that we'd wind up here? Who knew? But it's one of the most exciting times of my life, certainly. From the little girl who was told, hit the spot, sing for the people, to becoming a business person, a person who can think outside the box. You know, I'm very excited always about science and technology. I have my own science friends. I'm a judge at the Raw Science Film Festival every year for 9 years now. And the technology that allows us to do things that we've never been able to do before has given us great, great gifts. And even if people don't understand as yet, I believe that science and technology are what will take us into the future. So it's just a joyous time for me. I'm so excited about every day. I'm thrilled to know that I can pick up the phone and I can talk to people who will support me, who will mentor me and help me find my way into the future. I have two brilliant granddaughters who love science and technology, and they're great in math, and it's a very exciting time for them, and it gives me hope that I can help move things for their future, to put them in a place where they can have the same kind of opportunities that I've had.
And Susaye, this doesn't really sound like the case for you, but was there ever a low point where what was happening in your life you realized really wasn't working and there was a better way?
Yes, of course, we all have those ups and downs, and I think we all have, well, for me, the Supremes, which is a tremendous honor, you know. But on the other hand, it limited me to singing a certain group of songs, and I'm an expansive person. I sing many genres. I was classically trained. I love jazz. I love rock. I love all kinds of music. But it became stultifying for me. And as much as I love the ladies and traveling the globe, because everywhere, I've been to places that most people never get a chance to see. But at a certain point, I started thinking, I have so many other things still. A lady of a certain age. I want to do everything. There's still things that I'm extremely passionate about putting into place. I'm so excited by technology and what's possible. The entire world is changing,
Hmm.
and I feel blessed to be here still, to get a chance to, do some of these magical things. And
Yeah,
I will. Sure. I
and you
sure
are.
will. God
And,
willing. Yeah.
and when you go back to that lowest point, what did that moment feel like in your body?
Oh my. It let me know, because I'm very aware of my body. I'm very conscious at all times about how things make me feel. And that's part of my intuition. That's part of my discernment in being around people. I trust in those feelings. I know what it is to be an empath and to feel other people's feelings. So at that point, when I felt, I feel a dis-ease about continuing to do this in this way. I know there's more music in me. I know there's more art, more everything. So it was a difficult thing. It's like leaving your family, you know, but
Hmm.
you must go.
Would you say you felt trapped? Did you feel trapped in your body, like you couldn't expand yourself?
Absolutely. You know, being with a group is a limiting thing. You have to consider other people's talent, and there's tremendous respect there. There has to be, particularly on that level. You know, you're flying around the world, you're traveling to places where people know all the words. They do. They know them better than you do.
Yeah.
So there is that high expectation. They expect you to look a certain way. I'm all for that. It's good fun,
Mhm.
girls love to dress up and that sort of thing. And the level of musicianship is there. But individual choice has always been very important to me.
Mhm.
And I just like different things, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. What made you say enough was enough?
Enough. I say. It's just it came to a certain point where I realized I was enjoying my other activities. I'm a painter as well and a photographer, and I'm at the moment I'm putting together an exhibit that is going to be in the metaverse, a tremendous exhibit. I love the whole concept of the metaverse, and it's the next iteration of the web, whereas we scroll now. This is more immersive. You're there in 3D, and I love all of that. You know, it's an artistic heaven for me. And at a certain point, I realized I I don't want to go out of town and go and perform these same types of songs. And I love these are great. Make no mistake, these are fabulous songs. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the impact globally. There are people who have said to me, you know, that song changed my life. I've heard that many, many times. And I understand that because it has such an effect on you. And once again, it takes you there, you know? So there
Mhm.
are millions of people who have been taken there by these songs, but I didn't want to go there anymore. As a musician, you see,
Mhm.
I am someone who has to grow in that way.
Mhm.
I have to have the ability to try new music, to dig deeper into songs for my own personal gratification, for my own personal growth. I'm a jazz musician, and I'm always recording. I'm still recording and putting music together and putting music out and those things. So, it was just a matter of time, really,
Mhm.
before I can't say I was bored because it's not boring. You're going and meeting people and traveling to fabulous places and staying in, beautiful places and meeting people who are so kind to you and generous of spirit. But I knew that I had to do different things. It's as simple as that. I knew that in my heart.
Yeah. Was there one pivotal moment that sticks out where everything shifted for you?
I don't think so. I think it was a collection of things, a collection of moments. And we did a show. So this would come the closest to being a pivotal moment. We did a show here in LA that which is pretty rare. We're mostly traveling globally. And it's a wonderful place. We sold out. We're seeing a lot of people that we know and love. And I went up on the stage and we had decided to do a little jazz segment in the show. We're all accomplished singers, it's not just pop music. But I stood up there alone. I had a solo and I sang My Funny Valentine. And the band was fabulous. There's an energy and a synergy that comes with a band that you work with all the time. They know you. They know your method. There may be surprises for all of you, all of us. Notes and places that musicians go. It's fluid, you know. But I sang that song, and they gave me a standing ovation. And it dawned on me that this was what I really want to sing, you know? And The rest is history. We had to have a sit down and talk about it because I respect these ladies so. I do. I've been with them. Oh my. We've been together years and years and years.
Yeah.
And we've traveled everywhere together and we've had a tremendous time. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun. We spend a lot of time talking about life and books and music and things in the world. So we had to talk about it. And they understood.
Yeah. And when did you realize that your personal transformation needed to become your mission to help others?
That's an interesting point in my life. It was very soon around Michael Jackson's passing because people from around the globe reached out to me. Now, if you can understand that when you write a song, you have no expectations of it other than you're just having fun. That's it. That's why you do it, because it's fun. And yet, this was a song that wasn't a single. It was on a very, very high level album that was produced by Quincy Jones. And, the songs were amazing. They were mostly dance music. And yet this song stood out. And literally thousands of people reached out to me and said, this song affected my life. And I felt I had to reach out. And that's what they did. And it steamrolled. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't keep up with it. Right now, there is a post on my Instagram page it's me talking about I Can't Help It. And it has like 75,000 views. This one little clip talking about that song because people still are affected by it. It's been recorded so many times because jazz musicians love it. It's an unusual structure. It's an unusual tone. And the feeling of it was very sophisticated for Michael. Michael was a pop singer. He was a soulful pop singer. I mean, that's how he started when he was, When he was 8 years old, he went to Motown and he was singing one of James Brown's song and dancing like a little man, I can imagine they couldn't believe their luck, to see this kid who had such a worldly way about him and such a sophisticated talent, a deep knowledge of movement, and enough wherewithal to associate that with other things and to his greatest fame came about once he was away from the Jackson 5. And that's so shocking if you think about it, because that doesn't happen. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. But he sat down and he said, I am going to change my life. Conscious effort. I'm going to do things that were never seen before, which is how we got Thriller and all of those things, those little mini movies that he made. And the experience for me was very similar in that I realized that I am the captain of my destiny, that I can make things happen for me in a way never, that have never happened for me before. And I've had so many opportunities, you see. I have such an experience level that to change courses is a major thing, a major transformation in your life. And, I know people around me thought, well, she's lost her mind. She wants to leave and she wants to. No, it's quite a thing. But I'm propelled by the knowledge that I have the talent and the experience to follow through. And it's what I wanted. You understand? We don't do enough of that, what we want in life. And that leaves us on the precipice of disappointment in future in the in the later part of your life. Regret, that's the word I was looking for. I have no regrets. Not one. Well, maybe one.
Who specifically do you feel called to serve?
Oh, wow. I'm serving hearts. I am. I know that people need uplifting in the world. They need the hope to be able to survive. They need that more so now than ever. They need to know that in spite of whatever else is going on in the world, that there's a chance that they can do great things and live beyond other people's expectations of them. That's an important thing for people to have enough hope and then to have the courage. And I can give them that. I believe that because I'm just a small woman, I am. And yet I'm fired up in my heart and soul. I
Mhm.
know that this feeling that this gives me is worth noting. It's worth moving on. It's worth experiencing. And it will give people of all ages a chance to live their best life, to understand that there is a life beyond whatever difficulties they're going through right now, that there is a chance for them to have that spark that they feel from time to time. Everyone feels it from time to time, but it's difficult to harness it. I know people who have never had a dream, they've never had a particular thing that they wanted to do in life. And I can respect that, but I know that deep inside of that, there is a dream. It's just that so many people talk you out of your dreams. And I've always thought, well, if you're going to dream bigger. Dream the biggest dreams you ever had. The dreams the most impossible things. And that's the times we live in right now, is to do the impossible things, the obscure things that we only kept hidden over there, just beyond the sight. Now is the time to do those things, to experience those things that light you up and the things that make you want to see tomorrow, to get up every day and do something not just for yourself, but for others, because that connective thread comes back again and again. And I always say, what would we do if we ran out of water? What would we do? Well, we'd have to depend on each other. We'd have to join together because it's the most precious element that we need. We have to join together. And people hear that and it resonates, but often they're limited by preconceived thoughts, by thoughts that make them move forward slowly and then stop. But when you can put fire underneath people for themselves, you can't think for them, you can't have their point of view, but you can show them that if they can find the strength in their point of view, then they can do anything, anything. And I love that. To me, that's the future, you know?
Yeah. Is there anything that breaks your heart about your industry?
Absolutely. Going through a bad patch, really, because it's like Watergate. There is a specific thing that makes everyone's focus go here. It's called show business for a reason. But people who are entitled people take advantage regardless of what niche they're in, what business they're in. Show business is on a precipice of loss and has been for quite a while because people, well, you can stay home and you can record in your house. You don't have to go into a recording studio. There is that facility because of technology to make things happen for yourself. And then you can go on the internet and get famous. We know that by artists like Cardi B, who came out of nowhere and just blew up. But once again, people are limited in their thought of what to do. So people follow rather than lead. And it's the following, and it's a fear. There's a fear. There has always been a fear factor in entertainment, not to stand out there and shine. The ego feeds that because you get fed back. You get the applause and the adoration and that. But it's not that. It's that at a time like this, people who are emboldened to do things that are impossibly bad, all right? The record companies have been struggling for years, the big record companies, because of the situation of the technology coming into the home, the garage studios, the home studios. But it's the knowledge of things like you have to own your own masters, the master recordings. You should own them. Ray Charles was the first person to own his own. And he told me that in order to make your career move forward for longevity, you have to own your masters. Prince, the artist, Prince, got stuck in a situation with his record company where, because he knew if he owned his masters, that he had control of his destiny, so they wouldn't give them to him, wouldn't sell them to him, wouldn't allow him to own. And that's like me having a child and you taking my child and saying, well, he may be your child, but he's going to live his life this way. So I believe that's why he's gone. He wasn't, I don't know. It's very complicated, some of these situations. But the crux of it is people with talent need to know what they hold. That talent is a personal power. And because it is a personal power, first of all, you must enlighten it. You must consider that it has to grow. You mustn't stifle it. You mustn't allow all of the influx of, oh, do this, do that, listen to me. No, listen to yourself. There's not enough of that. People take young people who don't know about contracts, who don't understand business, and they take advantage of them. And then they press fear of loss of all of the money that they're willing to hand you, that will go away. And that's the situation that's so public right now and affects so many thousands of people because it has run amok. There are people who don't have good intentions for you, who don't care about you, whether you live or die, who don't care whether you get paid. As a songwriter, the hardest part about being a songwriter is you've got to chase that money. You have to find it. You have to go on YouTube and see who's using it illegally without giving you credit. You have to go to organizations that collect and you have to press them to pay you. And it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And it's only the knowledge, but then knowledge is power, isn't it? It's only the knowledge of the things you have to do that makes you able to be able to do them.
Yeah, it is. It's very tough. If someone was going to come and work through your complete method, what transformation can they expect?
Oh, well, first of all, they'll realize, because this is my purpose, they will realize that they deserve whatever accolades they get, they deserve whatever opportunities they get, whatever achievements they make, they absolutely are entitled to enjoy those things because that's what's taken away from you by other people. And it doesn't matter what the level is, it's the same for everyone. It doesn't matter what the niche is. It happens to everyone. People will say, now you've invented the wheel, and people will say, well, okay, you invented it, but let me take credit for it. And I mean boldly so. They will say, you don't deserve this. I do. Hmm. Well, no, they don't. So their transformation will be greatest from the inside out. They will learn what their power is, what their strengths are, and how to protect them. How to protect themselves is so important, particularly young people. It's not just young people. There are people who've gone through whole careers. People like Little Richard, who was the king of rock. He started it, and yet he didn't get the credit. What he got was limitations and people pushing him down, people not paying him. Those things have happened throughout the history of entertainment. People taking, what is the word? Credit. People taking credit. And what I am going to show people is they don't have to live that way. They can have the greatest success and they can enjoy it. They can live from their point of view, not others, and how to get there and how to keep that. That's why it's unshakable self-expression, you see?
Mm.
So the transformation is great.
And can you share a specific client story that exemplifies this transformation?
I've been doing the same thing for a long time for a lot of people and not getting paid for it because I'm a giving person. But I realize that it's all well and good to give people advice. But many, many songwriters that I know who haven't been paid, I've simply showed them how to get paid through what they already have out there. The people that collect money they might not know about. Every time you step into an elevator and there's music playing in the background, you should get paid for that. When you're sitting in a restaurant and you're eating your food and there's music in the background, they owe you money. It's a strange truth, but people have no idea if no one has ever told them. So there is that as a service, that if you are and you want to be a singer, and see, I've met so many people here who were doctors and lawyers, and what they really wanted to do was be a singer or an actor. So you have to know that if you want to be an actor, you don't have to pay an agent, okay, to work for you. You do after he's got you some work, but you don't have to pay to be a model for an agency or an actor for an agency. And that's how young people are taken advantage of. They come to Hollywood, which is, there is no Hollywood. There's a hill that has the word up there, but Hollywood is a fantasy, just like fame is a fantasy. Let's just say, the hardest part about all of it is you can become famous, and these days you can become famous for nothing, but you can't become unfamous. It doesn't go away. It changes your life. And the great problem has been nobody teaches you how to be famous, how to live in that world and still own your life. Because you don't owe the world just because they see you on the silver screen. They go to the movies and they see you. When you're in the street, you are a private citizen. And no one teaches how to live that way. It's a great difficulty. It is. But I know from people who are dear friends who've been through everything, that it's easy to live your life if you are unshakable with your confidence. It's perfect.
Would you work with someone like me, Susaye, or what is your ideal client? Like, who do you really want to work with? Do you typically work with the celebrities or average people, or what is it?
Well, regardless of what people do, self-worth is a tremendous issue in the world. So I don't limit myself if someone has an issue with their life, with their confidence or their self-worth, or just media training, because a lot of people need media training, how to speak, how to do interviews, how to. But I think that my prime target of people are people who have accomplished a lot. And I'd say between 30 years old, let's just say beyond, because people tend to, once they are mature, more mature, to listen. And you have to listen in order to learn. That was one of the hardest lessons that I learned. You have to listen in order to learn. It's as simple as that. So, people of accomplishment who don't feel they deserve their joy, or people who merely want to feel more confident about their lives and to live their best life. Because I think that's got to be the goal of all of us, to live their best life. I want to be able to work from anywhere in the world, anywhere, and still do these same things. And I have found that that is possible. So my transformation is a story that people will be able to relate to. Because, like I said, I'm just an ordinary girl with a lot of talents, nevertheless, who's been in the right place at the right time. And that makes me be able to look for those right places. If I didn't know that it were possible, I wouldn't have the courage to step to it. And I have. You have to do whatever, particularly while you're young.
And then quickly, how long does the transformation take for someone to come in and start seeing transformation?
Oh, I think they get it pretty quickly, you know? Within a few weeks, they get it.
Hmm.
Because if you're doing the things that bring that out of you, then it's so obvious. I hear people say to me, "Shouldn't could do that." Well, that's the greatest thing I want to hear. Of course you can do it. Of course you have that inside of you. Of course your talent can shine and you can be overjoyed by it, you know?
Yeah.
It's
And
happy work.
you've mentioned the Radical Company and how amazing it is. If you were talking to someone that was considering joining the Radical Company, what would you
Yeah.
tell them about your experience?
Oh, I'd say jump. I'd say jump in. I would. Because as I said, as a young person and then all through my life, I've been the person who steps out on the stage, I know what I'm doing there, and you go and you entertain the people, and someone else takes care of the business. But to know the underpinnings of the business are the most important part, because you can do the talented part. With the Radical Company, it's an experience I've never had before. To have mentors on that level who are caring people, who care as much about your success as they do about anything, that is life changing. It makes you have hope for the future to find that there are people who still feel that way. The suggestions, the love that's put into it, they're terrific people.
Mhm.
And not only them, but all of the others of us that get to come together and share in each other's success. That is bright. That just makes you, I'm so proud. It's true. There's so much happiness there of seeing people develop and blossom, come out of their shell, do things that they never thought that they'd have the courage to do. And that is just, ah. It's just, I don't know. I don't even have a word for it, but I can feel it, you know? I can feel it that, oh, there's so many, and, we're all in different places, and not just physically, but the things that we are passionate about are different from each other. And yet we can see it. We can see it growing. So many, so many of us have changed tremendously, have become these entrepreneurs, who realize that their life is unique and special and for a reason that they are in the right place at the right time.
And what changed in your business or life since you started working with the Radical Company that you maybe didn't expect?
Oh, the level of trust that I have in myself, the level of trust that I have in my decisions, the courage that I have. I always have been adventurous, but the courage that I have found to do a thing, follow through, not wait for somebody to tell me, is this right for me? That has changed everything for me. That has changed the balance of my life. And I know it's difficult. Sometimes there's resistance from those even closest to you, but it's okay. It's back to the, oh, really? Watch me. It's really about, there's so much fun in that. And so much that that I realize I can do, that I never thought I could do for myself, that I would delegate to someone else. It's building. It's learning how to build our lives in a different way, learning to trust in ourselves enough to do that building and then to follow through. That is invaluable. And in the atmosphere of people who are so glad for you to succeed in those areas.
Susaye, what an inspiration you are. And I'm so grateful that you're out encouraging and helping others to come out of their shell and to live their best life and to feel their joy and know that they deserve it. How can people get in touch with you once again before we wrap up here today?
They can find me online. I'm on Instagram. Well, I have a very strong presence. I'm on LinkedIn. If they go to Instagram, they can find me there. And my link tree is there. So they can find me in all of those places. I'm on YouTube. I'm open to the opportunities of meeting people and helping people. Within the next few days, I will put out my webinar, the way to get there. There'll be a Facebook group and, just other ways to reach out. But easy to find. I am. They can
You
find me
really
at Susaye.com.
okay. Fabulous. Susaye Greene, thank you so much for joining us here today on Radical TV.
What a pleasure. Thank you, and thanks for having me.